right, so the first thing that I want to do is just give us sort of an overview of what's going to happen. I'm going to talk a little bit about who we are, what we do a brief segment on general money management, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the changing student loan landscape and what you might need to know for that. All right. So Neighborhood Trust Financial Partners and Trust Plus. Who are we? Well, we have expert financial coaches who are here to offer personalized advice to any problem that you might have. We have an easy to use web application, which has tools for budgeting. You can review your credit report, you can see your FICO score, and it's getting new functionality all the time. As I said, personalized action plans. You can work with a coach directly to develop strategies to, deal with student loans or work on budgets, anything like that. 100% confidential, 24/7 lifetime access to the help you need. And this is all provided at no cost to you. As a nonprofit social enterprise, we're unbiased, and our motivation is your success. So we don't come in with any conflicts of interest or, anything that might stand in the way of objective advice. This is me, just to give you a little bit of background on myself. My name is Elise. I love to bake at home. I love the Great British Baking Show, and I'm always experimenting with new desserts. I love to read. I will read any kind of genre, any kind of story. It's all catnip to me. And I had a stint on Jeopardy a couple of years ago as a champion on that show. So that was a lot of fun. And just to kind of give you a brief rundown of what the webinar will be like. You can submit questions with the chat feature. I don't have eyes on the chat feature, but I'm sure, Preston's on it. And so just feel free at any time to submit any questions you might have, any kind of clarification needed. And I know a lot of people come in with very specific questions and very specific issues. We might not have time to address everybody's specific questions, but you can always set up an appointment with a Trust Plus coach to help you navigate anything that we're talking about today. Okay, and we will also go a little deeper into how to do that as well. So our objectives: get to know Trust Plus and meet me, Elise. Done. After this, we're going to talk about assessing your expenses, tracking your cash flow, thinking about the near future, and then we're going to spend a good amount of time on reviewing the changes to student loans that have been made recently. And then, as Jumelia said, we'll all come back together to do an overall Q&A. So when we talk about overall money management, the first thing that we're going to talk about is prioritizing your expenses. And there are various ways to do this, but one of the most sort of popular ways is to start with your needs. Okay, what is it that it's a can't live without, and those get divided into two categories. All right, so on the left hand side you see fixed. That could be something like rent. It's the same bill every month. It doesn't go up and down depending on how much time you spend in your apartment. And then on the other hand, you would have something like food as a variable expense. Do you need food? Absolutely. But it does, you don't have just a set cost that you pay for all the food in a month. It does go up and down. Another example might be utilities. It goes up and down depending on, is the AC on? All different kinds of things could affect that. Gas for your car. As we've seen recently, gas prices can be very volatile. So that's definitely something you want to take into account when you are creating that budget. How variable are they? How much control do you have over them as well? Maybe if you use your car to commute, that's not necessarily something that you can cut down that much. So again, we went through necessities, but you also have non-necessities that fall into those categories. A fixed non-necessity might be, Netflix or any of those streaming services. It's a set cost each month, but it's not really necessary for living. So when you are in that stage of your budget, when you're revising and you're looking back and you're trying to find a little extra money here and there to help you hit your financial goals, you might freeze one of those accounts, put it on pause, cancel it, just looking into that. When you're looking at your variable non-necessities, you might think about, okay, well, where can those expenses be trimmed? Food is a necessity, but eating out or getting coffee out, that might be something where you see the opportunity to pull back a little. Another thing that you look at is where have expenses increased? I think we've all seen over the last few months, food expenses going up, gas expenses going up, all kinds of things are increasing, and thinking about, okay, so I'm noticing this trend, how can I address it? And thinking about what might get in the way of trimming them. As I said, like if you need your car to commute, that's going to be a difficult one to cut down on. But then you can go on and think, okay, well, how can I get around that barrier? Maybe there's a carpool. Maybe there's, a bus I can take once a week or twice a week. When you're doing this, it's fantastic to make your budget, but then you need to really go that extra step if you're going to make it work for you and track your cash flow against the budget. So what does that mean? It means checking your spending weekly, and make sure that you see what's coming in, you see what's going out. Make sure that if you've budgeted $100 a week for grocery spending, that's what you're spending. Okay, it's very easy to look back at the end of the month and say, oh, that didn't work out according to plan. When you're doing it weekly, it's a lot easier to course correct. So you can do that on your own. You can use an app to help you. I love the app Mint because it's very effortless. It's very seamless. It just pulls in your expenses. Your bank's app might do this, or your credit card, where it'll just pull it out and be like, okay, I know what Starbucks is, that's coffee. And it'll break it down for you and help you see what's going on. And then you want to write down a list of all your bills that are coming out. When are they coming out? How does that align with your paydays? You want to make sure that you will have enough in your bank account to cover them when they're due, so that you don't get those overdraft fees when they're avoidable. A lot of times we recommend that clients set up automatic payments so that you don't forget that it's happening. You don't get a late fee, but if things are tight, you want to make sure that that setup still works for you. Okay, if you're not going to have the money in your bank account to cover that expense, you might prefer to push it back, see if you can change the due date, do it manually rather than risk triggering an overdraft fee. And that's basically, what I just said. Then kind of taking that information that you're collecting, that data that you're gathering, and think about your near future. A lot of times, we're not even planning 3 months ahead, 2 months ahead. We're planning week to week, okay? Paycheck to paycheck. So you want to think about, okay, if I can't make this payment today, if I need to defer it, when will it come due? Will it cost me money in interest? Will it cost me money in late fees? And you might decide, yes, this is what I need to do right now. Or you might decide, I think I'm going to cut back elsewhere to pay this bill now. And that's definitely something that you can talk about with your coach, and your coach can help you decide, because, you know, there's no one right answer. A lot of times using credit cards can be very helpful in the moment, but you just want to make sure that it is something that that you can pay off sooner rather than later, because that interest does add up, and it might help you out today, but it lingers. Okay, we might still be paying things off a couple of years from now. So just kind of thinking about what's going on today versus what might happen tomorrow, and balancing those two things, because they're both important. And as I said, you can always work with a Trust Plus coach to get that individualized support you need to make those decisions about cash flow, using credit, today, tomorrow, everything under that umbrella, and then create your own action plan to really take control of the situation. All right, so before we move on to student loans, does anybody have any questions about the managing money, cash flow part of the discussion? All right.
Good afternoon. This is Ursula Pedroso.
Hi, Ursula, nice to meet you.
Fine, thank you. I'm interested in obtaining a credit report and setting up an appointment to discuss financial goals. I really don't have any student loans. I joined the webinar because I like the company, and I'm always interested in information that they give, you know, to the general public. So it's really informative for me to just join. And, you know, I'm just nosy like that. You know,
I love it.
yeah. So
that's great.
I would like to set an appointment with a coach, and you know, that would be my interest for this portion of the webinar.
Okay, beautiful. Well, you have the information, you know, the number to text to get yourself set up.
Okay.
You know, definitely feel free to reach out. And then, as it says on the bottom, if you visit www.annualcreditreport.com, you can get your credit report from each of the 3 main credit bureaus. And that is something that you can do annually. So you can get 3 reports overall per year. And that will help you see what's on your credit report. It won't have your FICO score, but that is something that your Trust Plus financial coach can pull for you and review with you.
Oh, okay.
All right, but thank you so much for coming aboard. I love the interest, and
thank you.
And I wish you well with your financial journey. I think that'll be really great for you to talk to a coach.
Thank you.
All right, so looking at student loans and just kind of some of the stuff that's been going on. Right now, payments are still paused, okay? This is something where it has been extended and extended, and now they're saying the final extension will be May 1st, 2022, which is about a month away. So we're all preparing for the end of those pause payments, right? The first thing you want to do is log on to your studentaid.gov account. If you don't have one, you can create one just to make sure that they have your correct contact information and everything is correct there. If it looks like, you know, that's not the correct information that they have, you can update it on the web and reach out to your student loan servicer just to make sure that they have that. One thing that I've heard a lot is, you know, the payments are restarting, and a lot of people are not sure that they will be able to afford picking up those payments again, or they expect that they won't be able to. If you think that that might be you, one really great option is the income-driven repayment plans. They calibrate the loan payments based on your income. So if you are, making a very low income, you won't have to pay these outrageous payments that you might otherwise have to do. There are also other temporary payment pause options. You could do, there are deferment options, there are forbearance options apart from COVID forbearance. And the CARES Act does only apply to those federal student loans. But some private student loan servicers do offer a short-term forbearance option if you are experiencing that kind of financial hardship. There are a lot of other changes in this landscape. There are a lot of loan servicers that will not be handling your loans anymore. For example, Navient. I don't know a lot of people who are sad to see them go. Granite is another one. They ended their contracts with the Department of Education at the end of last year. And those Navient student loans have been transferred over to a company called AidVantage. The Granite federal student loans have been transferred over to Ed Financial. And as if that wasn't enough, FedLoan's contract with the Department of Education is going to end towards the end of this year. What does that mean for us as borrowers? It's not just the name on the credit report, right? There's some things that we can take to make sure that we are protected and protecting ourselves. You want to make sure that the servicer has your most up-to-date contact information so that when they're sending letters, it gets to you. You want to log on, make sure all of your payments that you have made are listed, download the payment history. I like to have everything on a hard copy in a binder because these student loan servicers don't always operate very efficiently or effectively when it comes to transferring paperwork over. And again, one place to do this is the studentaid.gov account if you haven't already set up an account there. As I said, you want to print, screenshot, download, save everything you can because you don't want to be dependent on their database. You want to have your own information at your fingertips. Keep an eye on your credit reports. Again, this is something that your Trust Plus financial coach can help you with, just making sure that you're not seeing changes on that credit report, whether it could be, a missed payment or I've had loans disappear and reappear on people. It's definitely something you want to keep an eye on. And you can also, I mentioned annualcreditreport.com. Your Trust Plus financial coach can pull a report every 6 months. And then if you want to see it on a more regular basis, you can create a Credit Karma account. You can create an Experian account. And these will be free services, okay? So if they ask you to enter your credit card, you're in the wrong place. Back up, find the free one. And then once those loans are transferred over, you want to take all that information that you downloaded and screenshotted and printed out, log on, make sure that their information is accurate and it's up to date. All right, are there any questions about anything I've said so far on student loans? All right, cool. I mentioned most people are not sorry to see the back of Navient. They have been, they were sued and to settle the claims of predatory lending, misinformation, not letting people know what their most advantageous repayment options would be. Navient agreed to cancel $1.7 billion in private student loans for 66,000 borrowers. And they're also giving out $95 million to 350,000 borrowers that they had placed in certain forbearance programs that were not the best option for them. So imagine that one day you wake up and you find out that your student loan servicer actually owes you money. So the borrowers, there were 39 states included in this settlement. If you're affected, you'll be notified via mail. The cancellation is automatic. You don't have to do anything. And if you have not been contacted, but you feel that, based on your history with Navient, you should have been a part of the settlement, you can reach out to your state's attorney general. And then the other big news in 2022 for student loans is an overhaul of the public service loan forgiveness program. If you're familiar with this is the program where if you work in nonprofit sector or public service for 10 years and you're making payments on your loans under the income-based repayment plan, at the end of the 10 years, those changes should be forgiven, or those loans should be forgiven. There have been a lot of issues with fulfilling this promise in the past, but these changes are meant to make it easier to qualify. So one of these changes is, let's say you have made over 120 payments already, but for whatever reason they weren't counted before, now they're counted. Guess what? Not only are your loans forgiven, but you could be eligible for a refund. There is a limited period of time from October 2021 through October 2022, during which you can go back and correct some of the errors that they might have made in engaging your eligibility, okay? So let's say you made payments under a plan that wasn't the exact payment plan listed out in the PSLF, charter, right? In the past, those wouldn't have counted. Now you can go back during this limited period of time, go back and drag those into, your history, your eligible payment history. You can get credits for payments that were made even if they were late, even if they weren't necessarily paid in full. One thing that had been going on was if you were off by $1 and you weren't paying the exact amount that they were asking for, that payment wouldn't qualify. So as long as you were employed full-time with a qualifying employer, when you made those payments, they count. There is a caveat, which is that this waiver does not include Parent Plus loans, unfortunately. Excuse me 1 second. The waiver does allow forgiveness during this period if you've made those payments, even if you're not currently employed or not employed by a qualifying employer. That was another thing that was problematic for people. Let's say you've made all the payments, you quit your job, and you apply for loan forgiveness. They'd be like, oh, no, you're not currently working in public service, so we can't forgive these loans, even though you fulfilled every other requirement. During this time, you can get that loan forgiveness. One thing I do want to highlight here is that there are a lot of scammers out there. So just be on the lookout. They might call you, request your personal info. They might offer you like, oh, pay me $200 a month and I'll get you into this loan forgiveness program. This is not a thing. Don't do it. If somebody calls you about your student loans, you can reach out to your Trust Plus coach. I've definitely had clients reach out to me when they get weird phone calls or emails, and we go through it and we reach out to, we reach out directly to the loan servicers to see what's going on here. All right, any questions about public service loan forgiveness? All right. So again, Trust Plus coaches are experts in student loan matters, and we offer one-on-one support and guidance. We can offer help with contacting creditors, including student loan servicers, debt payment plans. We can provide a credit report summary, FICO score, cash flow management tools and support. And we also send you text message reminders about those action plans that we create together. So as you can see, you have the information in front of you to get the link to the Trust Plus app. All right, and so that is it in a nutshell. Student loan changes, overall money management considerations. What questions do you have for me? And I know we'll go all back together into the Q&A. So you can ask now or you can save it till then. If you have questions about managing your finances, questions about student loans, Trust Plus coaching, Trust Plus app, or really anything else, we're here to help. I'm here to help. All right, so I'm going to stop the screen share. Oh, last slide. Yes. Let's see if this will. Yeah, so this is the slide where you can take down the information in order to get hooked up to a Trust Plus financial coach. And you can also reach out to UNHP at any point to get that link as well. All right. So I'm going to stop sharing and we'll just chat for a while. Everyone should feel free to unmute yourselves and we can just, have a party.
At this point, I'm going to go ahead and end the recording just so I can, just so everyone knows that they feel comfortable to speak. So I'm going to do that real quick.